Captain Jun Kim stood at the viewing deck of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the alien ship approach. It was beautiful, a silver spiral that seemed to float through space rather than fly. The ship belonged to the Galactic Council, a group of alien species that humans had only learned about 3 months ago. Impressive, isn't it? Commander Hannah Park joined him at the window. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, but dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept much. Too impressive, Jun said quietly. They want us to be impressed. Hannah nodded. She had worked with Jun for 5 years. They both had fought in the water wars of 2089. They both knew what it felt like when something wasn't right. The diplomats are excited, she said. President Lee says this is humanity's big moment. Jun didn't answer. He kept watching the ship as it slid into the docking position. Everything was smooth, perfect. The aliens had sent messages ahead, all friendly. They wanted to welcome humans to the galactic community. They brought gifts and knowledge. So why did the back of his neck tingle with warning? Double the security scans on everything they bring aboard, he said finally. Hannah raised an eyebrow. The president won't like that. He's worried we'll seem unfriendly. I'd rather seem unfriendly than end up dead. Jun turned away from the window. Tell the teams to be polite but thorough. 2 hours later, Jun stood in the main reception hall as the first aliens walked through the airlock. They called themselves the Mavari. They were tall and thin with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces had 2 large eyes that didn't blink enough, which made Jun uncomfortable. Captain Kim, the lead alien, said in perfect Korean, I am Ambassador Trell. We bring greetings from the Galactic Council. Jun bowed slightly. Welcome to Earth Defense Station Alpha, Ambassador. We're honored by your visit. Trell's mouth stretched in what was probably supposed to be a smile. We bring gifts to celebrate this historic meeting. 4 aliens behind Trell stepped forward, each carrying a beautiful box made of something that looked like mother of pearl that wasn't. President Lee, standing next to Jun, beamed with excitement. Your generosity honors us, the president said. But Jun was watching the aliens' eyes. They kept darting around the room, looking at every door, every control panel, every weapon the human security team carried. They were mapping the station, cataloging everything. Hannah caught his eye from across the room and gave a tiny nod. She saw it too. Sir, you need to see this. It was 3 hours later. The welcome ceremony had moved to the station's banquet hall. Jun had stepped out when Hannah called him to the security office. On the screen in front of them was a scan of one of the alien gifts, a beautiful statue of what looked like 2 hands clasped together. It's emitting signals, Hannah said, pointing to the data. Weak but constant. It's scanning our systems, our defenses, our communications. The other gifts are doing the same thing. Jun felt cold anger replace his earlier unease. They're mapping us while they smile at our faces. There's more, Hannah said. She pulled up another screen. I had our people analyze their ship's position. It's not where it's supposed to be. They've adjusted to get a better scan of our defense grid. Jun nodded slowly. The president won't want to hear this. He's already talking about trade agreements. But you were right, Hannah said. Your instincts were right. Have the security team quietly remove the gifts for special display preparation. Then meet me in my office with the senior staff. Jun started for the door, then paused. And Hannah, start preparing defense scenarios. I don't think this first contact is as friendly as it seems. As he walked back toward the banquet hall, Jun thought about the way the aliens moved. Too careful, too calculated. They were hiding something. His years of combat had taught him to recognize a threat before his mind could explain why. These aliens feared something about humans, and they were here to learn more about it. He just needed to figure out what they were afraid of before it was too late. Ambassador Trell sat alone in his private chamber aboard the Mavari ship. 3 screens floated in the air in front of him. Each showed humans doing things that made no sense to him. On the first screen, a soldier jumped on a grenade to save his friends. On the second, a mother lifted a car to pull her child from under it. On the third, a man ran into a burning building to save a stranger. Trell watched these videos again and again. His four hands tapped nervously on the table. "I don't understand them," he said to the empty room. The door slid open, and first scientist Krev entered. Like all Navari, she was tall and thin with blue-gray skin, but her eyes were darker, more focused. "You asked to see me, Ambassador," she said. Trell pointed at the screens. "Explain this behavior." Krev watched for a moment. "They act against their own survival. It is not logical. Yet they survive. They thrive." Trell stood up and paced the room. "The Council wants a full report. They are concerned about the humans." "We have collected much data from their station," Krev said. "Their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. Their technology is at least 200 years behind the Council standard. But," Trell could hear the hesitation in her voice, "but they are unpredictable." Krev stepped closer to the screens. "Our models cannot explain these behaviors." On Earth Defense Station Alpha, Science Officer Su-Bin Lee sat in the analysis lab with Captain Jun Kim and Commander Hannah Park. They had been studying the alien devices for hours. What did they want with this information? Jun asked, looking at the list of data the alien gifts had collected. "They scanned everything," Hannah said. "Defense systems, weapons, ship specifications." Su-Bin shook her head. "But also strange things. They scanned our art, our music. They took readings when the president laughed. They measured heart rates during the welcome speeches. They're trying to understand us," Jun said slowly. Su-Bin nodded. "I think they fear us." "Fear us?" Hannah looked surprised. "Their ship could destroy this station in seconds." "Not our weapons," Su-Bin said. "Something else." She pulled up a file on her tablet and handed it to Jun. "I found this in their database. They left it unprotected, which might have been on purpose." Jun and Hannah looked at the file. It showed hundreds of human behavior simulations, all marked Fei Ilur. "Unpredictable, They can't figure us out," Su-Bin said. "And that scares them more than any weapon we have." "The simulations are useless," Krev told Ambassador Trell. They now sat in the ship's main strategy room with the other Navari leaders. "We've run 10,000 scenarios," she continued. "We feed in all known human data. We create perfect models. Then real humans do something completely different." "Example," Trell demanded. Krev touched a control panel. A new screen appeared showing Earth Station Alpha. "We simulated cutting off their oxygen supply to Section 3. The model predicted panic, breakdown of order, potential violence as resources became scarce." "And the real result?" asked Defense Minister Vril. "They tested this themselves last year. Training exercise." Krev showed another video. "The humans formed teams. They shared resources. They made jokes to keep spirits high. Some went without oxygen longer so others could have more. They turned it into a competition to see which team could last longest. They called it fun." The room fell silent. "What kind of species turns survival into a game?" Vril finally asked. "A dangerous one," Trell said quietly. "The Council must know everything. Continue gathering data, but be careful. Captain Kim has discovered our scanning devices. He is perceptive." "How did he know?" Vril asked. "Our technology is far beyond human detection capabilities." "That's what makes them dangerous," Trell said, looking at the screen showing humans acting against all logical prediction. "They know things they should not be able to know. They do things they should not be able to do." He turned to face the others, all four of his hands forming the Navari gesture of warning. "And that is why we must understand them before they understand us." 1 month after the Navari visit, Earth received an invitation. The Galactic Council wanted humans to join their annual war games. They called it a chance for friendly competition and military cooperation. Major Do-hyun Park read the invitation with a small smile. He had been chosen to lead Team Earth. "They want to see how we fight," he told his team during their first meeting. "So let's show them." Do-hyun's team included 6 of Earth's best tactical minds. All of them had fought in real battles. All of them knew that war was not a game. But they also knew this was their chance to learn about alien fighting styles. The war games would take place on a huge space station called the Arena. Teams from 12 different alien species would compete in simulated battles using advanced virtual reality. No actual weapons, Do-hyun explained, but the simulations will feel real. Jinwoo, the team's youngest member, looked worried. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. How can we win?" Do-hyun smiled. "They have better tech. We have better instincts." 2 weeks later, Team Earth arrived at the Arena. The space station was massive, bigger than any human structure ever built. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through its hallways. The Selner team was first to greet the humans. They looked like tall insects with shiny green shells and 4 eyes. Their team leader, Commander Zavik, spoke in a clicking voice that the translation devices turned into flat, emotionless words. "We welcome humans to their first war games," Zavik said, "though we do not expect you to progress far with your limited experience." Do-hyun bowed slightly. "We are grateful for the opportunity to learn from advanced species." But in his mind, he was already planning how to defeat them. The first match surprised everyone. Team Earth faced the Beltari, who looked like blue bears with 6 limbs. The Beltari had won the games 3 times in the past decade. The simulation placed both teams in a forest battlefield. The objective was simple: capture the enemy's flag while defending your own. The Beltari used perfect formations. They moved with mathematical precision. Their strategy was flawless according to military textbooks. But Team Earth didn't follow the textbooks. Instead of defending their flag, they abandoned it completely. They set false trails. They made noises to draw attention to empty areas. They climbed trees to attack from above when no one expected it. The Beltari couldn't adjust. Their AI tactical systems couldn't predict human behavior. When the simulation ended, Team Earth had won by a wide margin. The viewing area fell silent. Then whispers spread through the alien crowds. "Luck," someone said. "Beginner's luck." But it wasn't luck. Team Earth won their next 3 matches. Each time, they used strategies no alien had seen before. They took risks that seemed crazy but worked. They bluffed. They used psychology against their opponents. After their 4th win, Do-hyun overheard a conversation between 2 Xelnar officers. He pretended to be checking his equipment while his translation device picked up their words. "It makes no sense," one Selner said. "Their strategies violate every principle of optimal warfare." "The council was right to be concerned," the other replied. "They act on instinct, not logic. How do you defeat an enemy you cannot predict?" "The most disturbing thing," the first one said, "is how they seem to know our plans before we execute them. It's as if they can sense deception. And did you notice what happened when Team Drekon tried to cheat yesterday? The humans responded with disproportionate force. They didn't just defeat them, they humiliated them. Yes, they smile and act friendly, but when threatened, they become something else entirely." Do-hyun walked away, thinking about their words. The aliens feared human instincts because they couldn't understand them. They couldn't program them into their computers or plan for them in their strategies. In the next round, Team Earth would face the Xelnar. Do-hyun smiled to himself. He already had a plan that would confuse them completely. Sometimes the best strategy was to have no strategy at all. Engineer Jae-ho Kang loved his job at Proxima Research Station. The small station orbited Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth's sun. It was a joint project, humans working with 3 alien species to study the star. Jae-ho had been there for 6 months. He worked with Triz, a Mavari scientist, Kolm, a furry Beltari physicist, and Nex, a tall, thin Selnar biologist. They got along well enough, though the aliens sometimes found Jai-Ho's jokes confusing. That morning, Jai-Ho was fixing a cooling unit when the lights flickered. "That's strange," he muttered. Then the alarm blared. "Emergency. Life support failure. Emergency. Life support failure." Jai-Ho dropped his tools and ran to the main control room. The three aliens were already there, staring at screens filled with red warning lights. "What happened?" Jai-Ho asked. "Meteoroid strike," Triz said, her four blue hands moving quickly over the controls. "The main oxygen system is damaged. Backup systems failing. We have 42 minutes of air remaining," Colm added. The Belteri's fur was standing on end, a sign of stress. Nex, the Xelner, was already running calculations on a tablet. "The nearest rescue ship is 3 hours away. Survival probability is 0.027%. Jai-Ho looked at them, then at the screens. The aliens were all brilliant scientists, but they were just standing there, calculating their deaths. "We're not going to die today," he said firmly. "Follow me." 20 minutes later, Jai-Ho was cutting through the wall panel near the damaged section. He had gathered spare parts from all over the station, pieces of the water recycler, parts of his own toolkit, even the metal frame from his bed. The aliens watched with confusion. "What are you doing?" Triz asked. "That equipment is not designed for life support." "I'm redesigning it," Jai-Ho said simply. His hands moved quickly. Years of fixing things on his family's farm, then in the Earth Defense Force, had taught him that almost anything could be repaired with enough creativity. "This will not work," Nex stated. "The probability of success is—" "I don't care about the probability," Jai-Ho interrupted. "Hand me that pipe." Surprisingly, Nex obeyed. 38 minutes later, Jai-Ho had built what he called a mini-scrubber. It couldn't produce new oxygen, but it could clean and recycle the existing air much more efficiently than the damaged system. "It's ugly, but it works," he said, wiping sweat from his face. The aliens stared at the strange device, made from parts that were never meant to go together. But the air quality readings were improving. "How did you know this would work?" Colm asked. "You had no time to test it." Jai-Ho shrugged. "I didn't know. I just felt it might work." The three aliens exchanged looks. "You acted without calculations," Triz said slowly. "You guessed." "I followed my gut," Jai-Ho corrected her. He started gathering more parts. "Now we need to fix the communication system so we can call for help." 3 hours later, the rescue ship arrived. The captain was surprised to find everyone alive, and the station still functioning, if barely. That night, after the emergency repairs were done, Jai-Ho overheard the aliens talking in the mess hall. He paused outside the door when he heard his name. The human's behavior was most concerning. Nex was saying in a low voice, "He saved our lives," Colm argued. "Yes," Nex agreed. "But did you notice how quickly he changed? One moment he was our friendly colleague. The next, he became something else, focused, intense. He took apart essential equipment without permission," Triz added. "And did you see how he held that cutting tool? When resources became scarce, he was prepared to use it as a weapon if necessary. He knew exactly how to convert ordinary objects into survival tools," Nex said. "Or weapons. My report to the Council will note this. Humans don't just have technology. They can create it from anything around them." Jai-Ho walked away quietly, thinking about their words. The aliens weren't impressed by his solution. They were afraid of it, afraid of how quickly he could adapt, afraid of how instinctively he had switched from friendly colleague to survivor. They feared what they couldn't predict. And humans, Jai-Ho realized, were the most unpredictable species in the galaxy. Intelligence Director Min-Woo Choi sat alone in his secure office deep within Earth Defense Headquarters. It was 3 a.m., but sleep wasn't coming tonight. Not after what he had discovered. On his screen was a classified document, a Galactic Security Council report that his team had intercepted and decoded just hours ago. The title alone made his blood run cold. Human Threat Assessment, CVVR. Recommendation: Containment. Minwoo took a sip of cold coffee and continued reading. The report wasn't about Earth's weapons or ships, which the aliens clearly considered primitive. Instead, it focused entirely on human psychology and behavior patterns. He picked up his secure phone and called Captain Jun Kim. "You need to see this," Minwoo said when Jun answered. "Now." An hour later, Jun, Hana, and Minwoo sat around a small table in the secure room, studying the alien report. "They've been watching us for years," Minwoo explained, "long before they made official contact. Every human space mission, every war, every disaster response. They were studying us." Hana pointed to a section of the report. "Look at what they consider our most dangerous traits." Jun read aloud. "Human pattern recognition exceeds all known species. They detect threats with minimal data, often before conscious awareness." "They're talking about instinct," Hana said. "Like how you knew something was wrong with the Mevari gifts." Minwoo nodded. "Keep reading." Jun continued. "Humans form pack bonds with outgroup individuals rapidly, sometimes including non-human species. This makes infiltration and division strategies ineffective. We make friends too easily," Hana translated, "even with aliens. Here's the part that really worries them," Minwoo said, pointing to another section. Jun read it. "Humans show two responses to perceived betrayal: immediate, overwhelming force, or long-term, calculated revenge. Both are executed with resource commitment that exceeds rational cost-benefit analysis. We don't forget when someone hurts us," Hana said quietly. "And this is what terrifies them most," Minwoo said, turning to the final page. Jun read. "Human response to threats against their young is most concerning. Adults will disregard all safety protocols, ignore survival odds, and commit suicidal actions to protect not only their own offspring, but any young human. This behavior cannot be predicted by rational models." The room fell silent for a moment. "They're afraid of us," Jun finally said. "Not our weapons. Us. And afraid people do dangerous things," Hana added. Minwoo nodded. The report ends with a recommendation for containment, keeping humans restricted to our solar system. But there's a divided opinion. Some council members want friendly relations. Others want more aggressive solutions, Jun finished. Across the galaxy, in a secret chamber on the Galactic Council's capital world, 12 alien representatives sat around a large table. The room was designed to prevent any recording or transmission. "The human assessment is complete," announced Supreme Counselor Vex, a tall Xelmer. "The results are disturbing." Ambassador Trell of the Mevari stood. "Humans pose no technological threat. Their weapons are primitive. Their ships are slow. Yet your own report states they are highly dangerous," countered War Minister Draz of the Drycon, a reptilian species known for aggression. "They act on instinct, not logic. They cannot be predicted. Which is why we should approach with caution, not fear," Trell argued. "We have much to learn from them." "Learn," Draz hissed. "While they spread through the galaxy, the Proxima Station incident proves they can improvise weapons from anything. The war games show they can defeat our best tactical systems using unpredictable methods." General Korv of the Beltary spoke next. "Most concerning is their pattern recognition. How did Captain Kim detect our scanning devices? How does Engineer Kang know which materials to combine without calculations? They see patterns we cannot. And they protect their young with irrational ferocity," added another representative. "If they ever perceive us as a threat to their children." The room fell silent. "We have two options," Vex finally said. "Containment or friendship. We must vote." Draz stood again. "Before we vote, consider this. If containment fails and humans realize we tried to cage them, what will their response be? Remember the report. They treat betrayal as unforgivable. Across the table, Ambassador Trell nodded slowly. For once, Minister Draz makes a good point. If we fear humans now, imagine how much more we should fear them as enemies. Ambassador Yum Hee Kang had been a diplomat for 20 years. She had helped end the water wars. She had negotiated peace between fighting nations, but nothing had prepared her for negotiating with aliens who thought humans were dangerous. So they're afraid of us? She asked, looking at the report Minwoo had shared. They sat in a secure meeting room with Captain Jun, Commander Hana, and 5 other top officials. Yes, Minwoo said, and afraid people make bad decisions. Yoon Hee thought for a moment. Then we need to make them less afraid. How? Asked Defense Minister Lee. Should we hide our military? Pretend to be weaker than we are? No, Yoon Hee said firmly. That would only make them more suspicious. Instead, I want to invite them to my home. Everyone stared at her. Your home? Jun asked. Yoon Hee smiled. For dinner, a traditional Korean meal with my family. No security, no formal protocols. That's crazy, the defense minister said. It's a security nightmare. It's brilliant, Hannah countered. They think we're unpredictable threat machines. Let's show them we're just people. 3 days later, Ambassador Trell of the Mavari, General Korv of the Beltary, and Supreme Counselor Vex of the Selnar stood awkwardly in Yoon Hee's living room. They had expected a formal diplomatic setting. Instead, they found a normal house in a quiet Seoul neighborhood. Yoon Hee's elderly parents were there. So were her 2 children, ages 7 and 10, and her brother's family. Welcome to my home, Yoon Hee said warmly. Please, sit anywhere you like. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. There was no security visible, no weapons, no agenda, just a house full of humans of different ages. Yoon Hee's son, Ta-woo, stared at the aliens with big eyes. Are you really from space? He asked Trell. Trell blinked his large eyes. Yes, young human. I come from a planet around a star you call Sirius. Cool, Ta-woo said. Do you want to see my spaceship models? Before anyone could stop him, Ta-woo grabbed Trell's lower hand and pulled him toward his room. The Mavari ambassador looked shocked but followed the boy. Dinner was chaotic by diplomatic standards. Yoon Hee's mother kept offering more food to the aliens. Her father told long stories about Yoon Hee's childhood, making her blush. The children asked endless questions. General Korv, the furry Beltary, seemed particularly confused when Yoon Hee's niece wanted to pet his fur. Is this normal human behavior? He asked Yoon Hee quietly. Completely normal, she assured him. Children are curious. They see your fur and want to touch it. They mean no harm. In my culture, touching another's fur is intimate, Korb said, yet I find I do not mind. That's how friendships start, Yoon Hee said. We learn each other's boundaries. After dinner, while the children showed the aliens their toys, Yoon Hee sat with Supreme Counselor Vex on the porch. This was not what I expected, Vex admitted. Our reports on humans focus on your unpredictability, your potential for violence. We can be those things, Yoon Hee agreed, when we need to be, when our families are threatened. But mostly, we're this. She gestured to the warm house behind them, where laughter could be heard. Vex was silent for a moment. The council is divided on how to approach humans. Some see only the threat. And what do you see now? Yoon Hee asked. Complexity, Vex said. Your young pull Ambassador Trell by the hand, showing no fear. Your elder tells embarrassing stories about you. The planet's top diplomat. None of this follows protocol. That's family, Yoon Hee said simply. Perhaps, Vex said carefully, the council has been asking the wrong question. Instead of asking why humans are dangerous, we should ask, What makes humans feel safe enough not to be dangerous? Yumhee smiled. Her gambit was working. The aliens were beginning to see humans as people, not just threats. But as she watched Vex looking at her family, she noticed something in his four eyes. A calculation was still happening. Not all council members would be so easily convinced. The Drakon war fleet moved silently through space, its 20 ships hidden by advanced cloaking technology. War Minister Draz stood on the command deck of the flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The council's vote is still 2 days away, his second-in-command said quietly. This attack is not authorized. The council debates while humans grow stronger. Draz hissed. Our intelligence shows they are building more ships. They are extending their reach. They must be contained now. But a preemptive strike will be surgical. Draz cut him off. We target only their orbital defenses. No ground attacks. No civilian casualties. The council will thank us when it's done. The second-in-command didn't look convinced, but he said nothing more. Begin the attack, Draz ordered. Captain Jaewon Lee was halfway through his shift on Earth Defense Station Beta when the alarms blared. The main screen showed 20 ships appearing from nowhere, already firing on Earth's orbital defenses. Multiple targets, shouted his tactical officer. They're hitting all defense stations simultaneously. Jaewon didn't hesitate. Sound general alarm. All stations. Defensive positions. Launch all fighters. Sir, they're jamming communications. We can't reach Earth Command. Jaewon's mind raced. The alien ships were like nothing he'd seen before. Sleek, deadly, and far more advanced than Earth's best technology. This was supposed to be a time of diplomacy. Why attack now? If we can't talk to command, we act on our own, he decided. Send emergency signal to all civilian ships in the area. Code Hornet's Nest. His communications officer looked surprised. Sir, that's calling for civilian assistance. They're not military. They're humans, Jaewon said simply. And they'll know what to do. The Drakon attack was precise and overwhelming. 3 Earth defense stations were already heavily damaged. The human military ships fought back, but were clearly outmatched. War Minister Draz watched with satisfaction. The humans fight well, but their technology is no match for ours. This will be over quickly. Then something unexpected happened. A small transport ship, clearly civilian, suddenly changed course and rammed directly into one of the Drakon destroyers. The collision caused minimal damage, but disrupted the destroyer's firing pattern. What was that? Draz demanded. A civilian ship, his tactical officer reported, sounding confused. It sacrificed itself. Before Draz could respond, more alerts sounded. Minister, we're detecting multiple small craft approaching from Earth. They appear to be civilian mining ships, transport vessels, even private spacecraft. Ignore them, Draz ordered. Focus on the military targets. But the civilian ships didn't behave like civilians should. They coordinated their movements, creating confusion among the Drakon fleet. Some carried makeshift weapons, mining lasers repurposed for combat. Others simply played a game of chicken, forcing Drakon ships to alter course or risk collision. This makes no sense, Draz hissed. They have no central command. How are they coordinating? On Earth, retired military personnel were reporting for duty without being called. Mothballed defense systems were being reactivated. In space, Captain Jaewon adapted quickly, using the civilian distractions to launch targeted strikes against the larger Drakon ships. They expected us to panic, Jaewon told his crew. They expected us to follow standard defense protocols, so we won't. Instead, he split his remaining fighters into small, unpredictable groups. They attacked from multiple angles, withdrew seemingly at random, then struck again where least expected. On the Drakon flagship, alerts were sounding everywhere. Minister, this is not proceeding as planned, the tactical officer reported. The humans are not following any known defense pattern. We're taking more damage than expected. Draz watched the screens in disbelief. The humans were severely outgunned, yet they'd fought like cornered animals, with a ferocity and creativity that baffled Drakon military doctrine. Most disturbing of all, as human casualties mounted, the survivors didn't become demoralized. Instead, they fought harder, with a cold focus that sent chills through even the warlike Drakon. "They're recording everything," the communications officer suddenly reported. "They're broadcasting our attack to the entire Galactic Council while we fight." Draz felt the first twinge of doubt. This surgical strike was becoming anything but clean, and now the whole galaxy was watching. "Continue the attack," he ordered, but his voice lacked conviction. For the first time, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Lieutenant Sunmei Kim felt the cold mud against her face as she lay perfectly still. 3 Drakon soldiers walked just 20 meters away, their scaled bodies shimmering in the morning light. They carried weapons that could vaporize her in seconds. But they didn't see her. Sunmai had been separated from her unit when the Drakon landed ground troops in the forests near the Earth Defense Command base. She had been on patrol when their ship appeared, and now she was trapped behind enemy lines. For 2 days, she had survived using skills her grandfather had taught her when she was just a girl. Grandpa had been a hunter in the mountains before the cities grew. He had taught her how to move silently, how to hide her tracks, how to become part of the forest. "To hunt well, you must think like your prey," he had told her. "But to survive, you must think like the predator hunting you." Sunmai watched the aliens carefully. They moved differently from humans, more like lizards, with quick, jerky movements followed by stillness. Their heads turned in sharp angles as they scanned the area. They were good hunters, but they hunted like aliens. They looked for technology, for weapons, for things humans would use. They didn't look for a woman covered in mud, lying beneath fallen leaves. When the Drakon patrol moved on, Sunmai waited 10 more minutes before moving. Then she followed them. If she couldn't rejoin her unit, she would at least gather intelligence. By nightfall, Sunmai had learned much about the Drakon. She knew their patrol patterns. She knew they couldn't see well in the dark. And she knew they had set up a small base in a clearing 2 kilometers east. As she circled their base, staying hidden in the thick trees, she spotted something unexpected. A lone Drakon soldier limping badly, separated from the others. Blood leaked from a wound in its leg. It was young, smaller than the others. Sun's first instinct was to let it pass, but then it collapsed against a tree, breathing hard. It was no threat now. It would die slowly out here, alone. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind. "How you treat the helpless shows what kind of hunter you truly are." Sunmi made her decision. The young Drakon named Kelv woke to find his leg bandaged with strips of cloth. He was inside a small cave, and sitting across from him was a human female, watching him carefully. She held a knife, primitive but sharp. Kelv reached for his weapon, but found it gone. "I took it," the human said in basic galactic language. "You're my prisoner now." Kelv hissed softly. "You should have killed me." "Maybe," the human agreed. "But I didn't." Kelv studied the human with confusion. She had clearly been tracking the Drakon patrols. Her mud-covered clothes matched the forest perfectly. She moved like a predator, yet she had bandaged his wound instead of slitting his throat. "Why?" he asked. The human shrugged. "You were hurt. You're young." This made no sense to Kelv. Drakon warriors would never help a wounded enemy. It was a weakness. Yet this human, who had survived alone behind enemy lines, had risked helping him. "My name is Sunmei," the human said. Kelv hesitated, then responded. "I am Kelv, 3rd rank scout." Over the next day, as Kelv's fever from his wound rose and fell, Sunmei kept them both hidden. She shared her water. She changed his bandage. And strangest of all, she asked him questions about his home, his family. When a Drakon search party passed nearby, she could have signaled them, traded him for her freedom. Instead, she covered his mouth gently and kept them both silent until the danger passed. I don't understand you, Kel finally said. You hunt like a top predator. You could have killed me easily, yet you show mercy. Sunma smiled slightly. Humans are complicated. You are dangerous, Kelv agreed. Yes, she said simply, but not in the way you think. As night fell again, Kelv realized the truth that would eventually reach all Drakon. Humans were most dangerous not because they were violent, but because they were unpredictable. They could kill without hesitation or show compassion without reason. And somehow, that made them more frightening than any weapon they might wield. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 37 spacefaring species sat in tiered seats around a central platform. Today, they would decide the fate of Earth and its relationship with the galactic community. Captain Jum Kim and Ambassador Yoon-hee Kang stood side by side on the platform. Behind them, displayed on a massive screen, was footage of the Drakon attack on Earth's defenses. The attack was not authorized by this council, Yoon-hee stated clearly. Her voice was calm but carried throughout the hall. War Minister Draz acted alone, against your own laws. Draz stood on a separate platform, his scaled face unreadable. I acted to protect the galaxy from a dangerous species. Humans are unpredictable. They cannot be controlled. Is that why you attacked? Because you couldn't control us? June asked. His uniform still showed damage from the battle. Or was it because you feared us? A murmur ran through the council chamber. Ambassador Trell of the Mavari rose from his seat. The evidence is clear. Minister Draz violated our most sacred law. No preemptive warfare against developing species. The Drakon must be held accountable. Supreme Counselor Vex of the Selnar spoke next. While I share concerns about human unpredictability, I cannot condone this attack. I visited Earth myself. I sat in a human home. They are complex, yes. Potentially dangerous, yes. But they defended themselves without unleashing planet-killing weapons they could have used. This shows restraint. General Korv of the Beltari stood, his fur rippling with emotion. The Drakon expected humans to break under pressure. Instead, they adapted. Civilian ships joined the defense without orders. Retired warriors returned to duty without being called. This is not the behavior of a species that should be contained. It is the behavior of a species that would make a formidable ally. One by one, the council members voted. When it was done, the decision was clear. The Drakon action was condemned, and Earth would be welcomed as a protected developing world with the right to join the council in the future. 1 week later, Yoon-hee sat with Captain Jun, Commander Hana, and Intelligence Director Minwoo in a quiet meeting room back on Earth. The council has agreed to all our terms, Yoon-hee reported. They will help rebuild our damaged stations. They will share some technology, not weapons, but medical and environmental advances. And what do they want in return? Minwoo asked suspiciously. Yoon-hee smiled. That's the surprising part. They asked for very little. Cultural exchange programs, permission for scholars to study Earth history, and they want to learn more about human decision-making, especially in crisis situations. They still fear us, Hane observed. Yes, Yoon-hee agreed, but now it's a respectful fear. They've realized something important. Human unpredictability makes us dangerous enemies but valuable friends. Across the galaxy, in the private chambers of the Galactic Security Council, a different meeting was taking place. This group, made up of the top security officials from all major council species, was updating its official assessment of humanity. The new report was being finalized by Supreme Counselor Vex himself. Human assessment. Approach with respect, not fear. Their technology remains primitive by council standards. Their weapons pose no galactic threat. But their instincts have survived millennia of evolution for good reason. He paused, thinking of his visit to Ambassador Yoon-hee's home, where her young son had fearlessly approached aliens twice his size. He thought of Lieutenant Sunmei, who had returned a wounded Drakon soldier during prisoner exchanges, creating confusion among the Drakon leadership. He thought of Captain J1, whose unconventional battle tactics had saved Earth from a superior force. Vex added a final line to the report. Humans appear chaotic, but there is pattern in their chaos. They follow a deeper logic, one based not on mathematical precision, but on instincts honed by countless generations of survival. This is why we feared them. This is why we should respect them. And this is why, should the need arise, we should be grateful to have them as allies rather than enemies. As he filed the report, Vex knew that humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed.